making whole wheat bread, and we have the ingredients there. We'll start by making the wet ingredients first because we need the yeast to be activated. So you will see me put 1 1/4 cup water, and then we'll add a sweetener. I used agave nectar. Again, I use pure maple syrup, but I didn't have that today, so I used agave nectar. And then we're going to put 2 1/4 teaspoon, or you can use 1 packet of the active dry yeast, not instant, but active dry yeast. And we'll set that for 10 minutes. And then we'll go ahead and prepare the dry ingredients. So we'll have 3 cups of whole wheat flour. Usually I make 2 at a time, but today, because I was making it for this video, I only made 1 bread. So you can double this recipe to make 2 loaves of bread. Instead of I'll probably make another one tomorrow because it will be eaten in 1 day. Then we put 1 teaspoon of salt. Sorry, not sugars, but salt. So I used to use lemon, but it made it more softer, that it's a little bit harder to cut, so I omit the lemon. But if you want to try it with lemon, when you mix, so the dry ingredients separate wet ingredients, so when you mix them together, you can add 1 tablespoon of lemon juice if you want to try it, but I didn't use it in this recipe. So mixing dry, putting it in the wet. So this is where the work is. You're gonna knead this for 10 minutes. I started there, but I'm going to put it on the surface, on the counter, and I'm going to knead this for 10 minutes. That's really where the work is, right? So I'm gonna knead this for 10 minutes, and then after that, I will put it back in that container and let it rise for 1 hour. So that's the wait. I don't know if that's where most of you are making a mistake. If you are actually kneading it, because this will help it soften those gluten strands, right? So you're gonna make sure that you do it for 10 minutes. I was doing that. It's a bit tiring, and you can imagine when I make 2, it's double the dough, so it takes more energy. It's a little workout there. But yes, this is the trick. But after that, then there's nothing to do really. You put it in the container and let it rise for 1 hour. That's the first rise, and then we will shape it into bread shape and put it in a baking dish after lining it with parchment paper. And then we'll let it rise for the second time for 30 minutes, and then we'll bake it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. So you're just gonna be seeing me doing this. Of course, the video is made faster. Otherwise, yeah, I'm doing this for 10 full minutes. So I was pretty surprised. You can get pretty soft bread with just simple, it's yeast, water, a sweetener, whole wheat flour, some salt, sorry. So it's all done now. And then I'm going to cover it. You can cover it with a kitchen cloth or a, the plastic wrap, and then let it rise for 1 hour. So cover it up and put it aside for 1 hour. Now it's done with the first rise. And we are going to be shaping it into bread shape. And again, I don't use any oil. I don't spray oil in my baking dish, so I use parchment paper. I showed you when I made the banana bread how I make the parchment paper so it's easier to layer it, taught by artist Nema. So you're gonna cut the edges and make sure that you cut all the way inside. And then that's it. This is what will prevent it from sticking. So all my baking, because I don't use oil, I use parchment paper, and that helps. I am yet to try. Actually, I do have some silicone mats as well that I use, but mostly I use parchment paper, culinary parchment paper. So I'm cutting that. So you can see how I'm cutting it. You're cutting all the way to where you will be layering it horizontally. So you're cutting all the way down. And then I'm gonna cut some of these extra pieces that are sticking out. So you can see I'm doing that, and I'm cutting there. For those that were asking how I do this, so you want to make sure you do that, because if you don't do that and it's sticking inside into your dough, it's gonna be hard to get it out, right? So you can see it has risen so much there, and I'm gonna get it out, and then I'm going to shape it into bread shape, and then we're gonna put it in, back, of course, put it in that baking dish, and we're gonna let it rise for 30 minutes. Gonna cover it up again and let it rise for 30 minutes. Shaping it up. And then, when it's about, so we're gonna let it rise, put it in there, cover it up, and then let it rise for 30 minutes. When it's still rising, about 12-minute mark, when you have 12 minutes left, I will preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Because there's no need to preheat it now. We still have 30 minutes to rise. It's just going to be there. Just conserve some heat. So you saw me pressing it down. That way, you have a nice shape at the end. So we're going to cover this up with a kitchen cloth. And then we're going to let it rise for 30 minutes. At 12 minutes, when you have 12 minutes left, preheat the oven, and then it will be ready. Now it's fully risen, 30 minutes done, and we're going to bake this bread for 35 minutes. And here goes in the oven for 35 minutes in the middle rack, 35 minutes at 350 degrees. And it will be good to go. And once it's done, let it sit there for 10 minutes so you can take out the parchment paper. Don't take it right away. And then after that, you can put it on a rack to cool completely.